Hello, and welcome to Recent Activity, your new favorite entertainment review podcast that attempts to cover every film, every show, all at once. I am your co-host, Andrew Morgan. With me, as always, is my good friend who would never let a movie get between us, Mr. Shane Beauregard. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, and we'll see how true that is. I'm ready to test that.
I mean, listen,
I think you're going to make me upset.
I want to talk it out, though. Like, so for everybody, like, we're sandwiched here. We're in mid-October, right? And in all our preview stuff and everything else, there's two mainstays that we love in October: the scary movies and the Oscar stuff. And we have both because we are right smack dab in the middle of it. We watch so much stuff, including stuff that isn't brand new, and which is what might break up this podcast. So later we'll talk Terrifier 3, which led the box office amongst other scary films, and we will also close out the show with Saturday Night, the SNL biopic of sorts from this past weekend that went wide, and The Apprentice, which also went wide, the Donald Trump in the 80s sort of... I almost want to call it a twisted coming of age, but it's like it's essentially, I've heard it positioned as Frankenstein's monster got loose, and I'm like, okay, maybe we'll see how that goes. But let's start off with something, buddy, because I believe I don't know if we were on the mics for it or any of it last week, but I know in your heart you absolutely have a big beef with Ari Aster's Hereditary. And this has come up on the podcast multiple times before, and I had never seen it, so I had no dog in the fight. But I remember you and Chris, back when he was on the pod too, also, I think he also had an issue with it too, right?
He liked it, and I hate him for liking it.
Okay. All right. So this is an interesting thing. So I watched this for the first time over the weekend. I know I'm a bad horror fan or a bad movie, whatever you want to fucking call me, for late to the game with Hereditary. And I tell you, I watched it and I was like, I'm going to save it for the pod because you were just like, man, are we done? Are you going to, like, is this going to ruin us? All this kind of rhetoric from you. So before I get to my opinion of it, now that I've watched it, I don't fully see where someone would hate it, and yet you hate it. So I kind of want to hear you first before I say what I felt about the movie.
Yeah, this movie gets me viscerally just upset because it's almost as like when we reacted to how are critics liking Bottom so much. Like, well, I don't understand it.
Sure.
This falls in that category. Oh, the scariest movie you've seen in a decade. It's a masterpiece. It's this, it's that. It's a masterpiece of shit is what it is. Like, I remember seeing this with the missus when it came out, and we're expecting, and maybe because they marketed it and you saw the trailer and you're like, oh my God, all this creepy, weird, scary shit's going to happen.
Sure.
We both sat there for 2+ whatever hours this runtime was, and I wanted to fall asleep on multiple occasions. It was boring. It was drawn out. I didn't care about the damn characters. And all of a sudden, the last 10 minutes of the film, you're going to pop up with all this crazy mayhem bullshit. Like, if that were to happen throughout the movie, I would have been, okay, this is more like it. But literally nothing happens to like the last 15 minutes of the movie. Other than that, I try to like blank the movie out of my head. I mean, the girl gets decapitated, spoiler alert. And then like stuff goes. If you haven't seen it by now, then I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. And then it just was this slow, like painfully slow, just like, what? Like, can we just get to the crux of this cult or whatever the hell is going on here with this family? And then it doesn't happen until 10 minutes. So I'm like, what did I waste 2 hours of my life for? Is it scary? No. Is it a scary, like, best horror films in the last decade? Not even freaking close, my friend. Like, Ari Aster to me is like Robert Eggers. I don't want to see any more of you. Like, I'm done. I'm done with movies like The Lighthouse and The Northman and Midsommar and Hereditary. Like, please. And stop calling them horror movies or horror classics, because it is not. I can't stand this movie, and I feel like I am living in a bizarro world where people are like, oh yeah, I agree with the 94% the critics gave it. What are you watching here?
Okay, well, see, here's where I hope you appreciate me some. So I'm watching this movie, and I partially agree with you in the sense of like, I didn't think it was like all-timer scary. I've seen so many more scarier things that I was just waiting to be like, like, you know how if somebody's seen a movie and you're about to watch it and you're watching it with them and they just kind of look at you like, this is going to come up and you're going to be like, oh, you're going to lose your shit. I feel like I got those looks, and then I was like, I'd make some like cheap joke or something. Like, I wasn't like fully scared. Now, again, if I saw this in the theater, maybe it'd be a little different, especially when Toni Collette's, walking on the ceiling and stuff like that. Sure. Those are some spooky, scary, like old school, almost Exorcist type things going on, right? But I disagree with you that like I wasn't bored. I was engaged because, again, I'm trying to like figure out the clues because, the only thing that bothered me and it's one of those movies that they obviously explain it to some extent, but it's one of those movies that just, Jesus, when she was like explaining her life in some of these like therapy groups or to like certain people in her life, you just got to go, how are you even walking around? Like, your life is more tragic than I can ever hear. It's like an orgy of tragedy. And so it's like, don't you know your life is completely fucked? Like, you, up until a certain point, like, she's kind of normal. And yet it's like, then she'll explain like, oh, well, my dad died in this tragic way and my mom just died and then my daughter just died and this died. Like, my brother died doing this. And it's like, Jesus, lady, kill yourself. Like, and if anybody, I felt bad for Gabriel Byrne, who's like married into this thing and then has to like be a sacrificial lamb in the movie as well. So I don't know. I was entertained. I was locked in. Is it like the most like, oh man, kind of thing? It if anything, it adds to my already fear of Ann Dowd. Like, if you see Ann Dowd in a movie, run. Because she is like in all the fucked up stuff. And it has been like, I loved her in The Leftovers. I loved her in like so many, like for the last decade, it's been Ann Dowd going, God damn, Ann Dowd, Jesus Christ, lighten up a bit, Like, she kind of like is more fucked up Kathy Bates,
Yeah.
So, but I love her. She's so good and she's amazing. But yeah, to me, it's like it's got a 4 on Letterboxd. I think it's a 3.5 because I was there, but I can't. I have none of the disdain that you do, but I won't say it's some masterpiece. And in fact, I feel like I feel the same way about Midsommar, where I was like, I'm engaged, I'm locked into the mystery of like what is really going on here. I thought that was actually a little more boring, and then like they turn up the juice at the end. So I think he has a type. I think he has a structure he likes, and you're either in or you're out. And I'm mostly in, but I never feel like fully like on cloud 9 about his stuff when it's over. And I know that's a very, people are like, Jesus, dude, between the bear suit and Midsommar and Toni Collette walking on the ceiling and people getting lit on fire. Like, what's your problem? What do you need? So I don't know.
Yeah, I just need to be engaged. Like, to your point, what point did she get, like, she walk on the wall? What? That was the last 5 minutes of the movie, right? Yeah. I mean, come on, man. Like, you're going to make me wait 2 hours for that stuff to start happening. Like, the story itself did not engage me enough to keep me interested in that movie. I just found it, like, at least with Midsommar, I was interested in the island and what the hell was going on. Yes, that movie was boring as well, but at least it did pique my interest. I'm, like, trying to guess what's going on here. This movie, I just didn't care. I just lost inch. I just did not care. I didn't care about the son in this movie. Well, see, then there's your problem, because like the son takes up a good chunk of time before the other stuff. Yes.
So where you're like nothing is happening, it's like, oh, the son is getting tormented and he's slamming his face into his desk. So like, if you're not into that, well, then I can't help you. But like, it's there.
I just couldn't. And then just to hear all the praise after the movie, I think that's what set me on fire. Was like, I got set on fire. I got set on fire.
Yeah.
I'm like, I heard all the praise. I'm like, what did they watch and what did I just sit 2 hours and 15 minutes through? We looked at each other like, what the hell did we just watch? Like that. I don't know, man. One of those movies, I guess I was in I don't know. I guess you had to see it in the theater at the time. I don't know. Like
a group helps.
Yeah. I'm just sitting there all right. Like, come on, man. Let's pick up the pace a little bit. And I'm like, all right.
And I also watched Midsommar like by myself at home too. So again, like apologies for like if I'm not getting the full experience that maybe some people did to get there, but it also shouldn't be so diluted at home that I have this kind of
it shouldn't.
Good, not great mentality about both of them, quite frankly.
Right.
I like them both, don't get me wrong, but like, it's not like, oh man, fucking Ari Aster can do no wrong. It's like, all right, well,
he does a lot wrong. But again, he is now clearly in the Robert Eggers category with me.
I think he's better than Eggers. I'm with you on Eggers. I'm like, I keep falling for the trailer looks like dope as hell, and then I get there and I go, oh, fucking Robert Eggers.
Yeah, so, he's there. He's having sex with dolphins. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And somehow he got all that money to make The Northman. That was like, okay. Like, even if you like Robert Eggers, like, that's a big ask. Like, I don't know how he got all that money, how he got that blank check for Northman. But, now he's making Nosferatu. I'm like, okay. Like, I don't understand how he keeps getting these opportunities in that way.
Well, at least with Nosferatu, he has material to work off of, so hopefully that will better suit him than his previous shittings that he's put out, you know? So
and again,
we'll see.
Like the trailer, but I'm like, I know, I'm checking myself this time. I need to hear a review first or whatever. So
exactly. See, we learn as we mature.
Yeah,
I've learned. Like, you get 2 strikes with me now. No more 3 strikes. I'm a 2-strike guy. Strike 1, strike 2. I'm not getting caught looking. Yeah,
and he doesn't get like the M. Night treatment for me where it's like he was so strong out I'm just going to end up getting, as the people on the Ringer podcast like to call season tickets, where I'm like, yeah, I have season tickets to Shyamalan. I'm going to watch a lot of bad movies because of it, but he's never or not bad, but like disappointing.
Correct.
Ones where you're just like, fucking, I fell for the Shyamalan thing again. Like, there's so much with that. But I don't know. Like, I don't feel that way about Eggers. There was no one movie where I was like, oh man, he fucking slam dunked that one. Here we go. But again, I'm the guy who hasn't watched The Witch yet, though. The Double V Witch.
Oh, please don't.
I'm gonna end. So here's the thing. I watched Hereditary because my girlfriend enjoys Ari Aster and she likes the Double V Witch. So I will probably end up watching that too. So, I'm just trying to check him off, Shane, because I don't want to be the guy who's like, oh, I don't know what Black Phillip is or whatever. Like, you know me. I don't want the FOMO when it comes to some big movies. I like having my opinions, whether, it's in bad faith or not.
I will say this. This isn't like a ringing endorsement of the Double V Vitch, whatever. Given a choice between watching that and Hereditary again, I probably would watch The Witch before I watch Hereditary again.
Okay.
If that means anything.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, listen, I'll let you know when I get there because it seems I'm doing the check off every which way. By the way, like, obviously we are going to get to what we have watched, but like this week I'm just smothered in movies because after already having a very busy week this past week, I now am going to be watching Woman of the Hour. I have to watch the original 31 Dracula, like the Bela Lugosi, because I will be on a podcast guesting on one to cover that one on Monday. So, and then I'm going to the Woodstock Film Festival this weekend, and I plan on seeing Smile 2, if I can help it too, for the pod. So, man, busy week. So, but you guys will hear all about it next week when we get on the mics again. Much like this, we will be on a Tuesday night. At least it'll be better that I'll be guesting on a podcast with friends as opposed to watching the Jets lose on Monday Night Football and having a better excuse for why we are delayed in our recording. So there we go. But good to see you, sir. And yes, we covered the gauntlet, and I'm glad we're still friends, that you accept my Hereditary opinions, whether wayward or not. But it was it felt like with Terrifier 3 winning the box office this weekend, now it feels like October Halloween scaries. Like, we're getting into it now. Before, we were kind of faking the funk. We're like, we got a bunch of thrillers here. There's nobody like getting stabbed a lot or whatever. It's like no big deal. Terrifier 3. Holy shit, dude. Now, question. Have you seen either of the other two? No. Is this a you don't plan on it version?
Here's what's happening with me, right? And I like, seriously, because now my interest is peaked, and I'm like, okay, all right, Shane, just pull the ripcord and just start watching. But I think I'm going to jump just into the second one rather than watch the first one, because I don't like ripping, taking a razor blade to someone's eyeball and, let me watch that and see how gross I can get you out. Like, I don't like that kind of horror, And I like slasher films. I just don't like that intense, like, I just want to see someone's Achilles tendon ripped out and you're going to eat it in front of me. Like, I don't need to see that kind of stuff.
Then I don't know if this is going to do it for you then.
For the sake of doing it. But now, like, what's surprising is the Terrifier is getting good critic scores and, of course, a very high audience score. So I'm like, fuck, if critics are, like, giving this, like, a 80% or 70%, it's up there for critics right now.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm just like, all right, man. Like, they're both on Prime. Like, both Terrifier and Terrifier 2 are on Prime right now. Yeah.
There you go.
So I'm like, you know what? But here's what, and you can answer this, because one of your questions you posed in our messaging to each other was, one, like, kind of like, let me see what the puke stuff's about. And two is like, does it deserve a 2-hour runtime for a slasher film? Which is a very good question, because to me, by the book, slasher films should be an hour and a half to an hour and 40 minutes tops.
Correct.
In and out. Correct. You don't need 2 hours. The second Terrifier film was 2 hours and 18 minutes. This one's a 2 hour and 7 minute runtime. I'm like, do I really want to sit through this for 2 hours and plus minutes?
Let me kind of clue you. As a person who's watched all three, here's my kind of evaluation of where the franchise is or where it's gone, right? So the first one isn't even kind of the first one, because there is I forgot, they called it was something shorter. It had Art the Clown, but it wasn't fully a Terrifier movie that came out before it. But officially, I started with Terrifier, like the original Terrifier. And that movie is just straight up like, Art the Clown is freaky. He delights in trying to be mimish, clownish, and fucking hack people to pieces, and you just have to survive. It was more of a straight up slasher for the first one. And it's shorter, obviously. Because what happened in the second one is now you're starting to see, like, okay, we had some success with this. Can we do what, say, Halloween or some of these other franchise, Jason, where it's like, what really is going on with this guy? Like, can he be killed? Is he always coming back because he's like a demon? Is there a way to kill him? It kind of turns into like you're fighting Superman. Yeah.
Like a supernatural thing.
Yeah. So in the second one, the reason why it's so much longer is because they take a bunch of different angles and hacks and larger set pieces and all these other things to kind of get more supernatural. And to spend more time with characters who aren't Art the Clown, or to see like kind of how Art the Clown continues on, because maybe it's not always the original Art the Clown, that it's just kind of this can come back to life, demon possession sort of things, like needing a host body and all these other things. So they really go to it. And then there's like the survivors of the second one, they have a father who like was obsessed with Art the Clown. And then there's like theories of like, is he the new Art the Clown? Like, did he fucking like they have to chop off his head? Where did his head go? Oh, his head got birthed by this thing. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot more, and it's longer because of it, because they really try to like figure something out, so that way if they make more of these things, then at least like, okay, we know all of the things, let's just tell a new story. So I thought that was a step sideways or down from the first one, because I was like, this is too much, though I like a lot of things in it. And I think what they figured out with the third one is that they can still be this fucking franchise that seems to delight in being like dark comedy slash in the goriest, nastiest ways you could possibly think of, but also add in a little bit of the demon stuff, a little bit of like the supernatural thing, but not go so hard and make it so big that you turn off all the slasher fans that you acquired along the way. Okay, which I think a lot of people deal with too, which is why I think people liked the third one more, and maybe critics are more on board because it kind of gets to the point. It's a survival thing because it's the final girl coming back for once. The person who was hacked up in the first one who survived, even though she's mutilated, ends up carrying through, but not as a final girl. She's like fucked. So, and actually ends up being a sidekick of sorts to Art the Clown. So you have this sister and brother who survived part 2 is now the impetus for like the whole thing with part 3. So you have someone who got out of a mental institution because of all the damage that Art the Clown did to her mentally. So 5 years have passed since it happened, and then now you're seeing the brother went off to college. He's trying to move on with his life. She's getting out of the mental institution for Christmas time. She's with her aunt and uncle and her cousin who like is much younger but idolizes her, this whole thing. And, it turns into, is she seeing things? She's on medication. She's all messed up. But is she also seeing Art the Clown? But before you even get to all that, the opening sequence is fucking nasty. And like it sets the tone for everything because they just start out with like, oh, you think this movie's cool? You think this movie's good? I saw a bunch of kids there with their parents and shit. And within 5 minutes, they're like, cool, we're going to hack a kid to pieces.
Oh, God.
And I was just like, you asked for it, bitch. Like, I didn't see anyone walk out either, which is hilarious to me. So, like, and then there's later, like, there's like genital mutilation, like a chainsaw through the ass cheeks. Like, this thing just goes and goes, and even adds like religious iconography. There's all kinds of shit. It just delights in being fucked up and in your face and trying to just be the most, I don't know, probably like, this, if this movie came out in the 80s, it would have like, like religious groups and all this stuff like protesting, like don't see Terrifier 3 or whatever. But now it's like, we're all desensitized and nobody cares. But, but I will say, yeah, it is the best of the third, of the 3 that have come out. I can see there being more because they just kind of have got the formula down. How many more? Who knows? I mean, this is literally like, if this is the new Halloween or whatever else, it's like, yeah, it could just keep going if people are going to watch it. And like I said, it was number 1 at the box office. Didn't exactly set the world on fire. It got 18 mil total, but it was enough to beat Joker 2 and a bunch of other movies that are like for that movie to make that money, that's crazy because these movies are still very low budget.
I was going to say they got to be cheap to make, so they probably made their money back hand over fist.
I unless, again, because you're now in 3 and you're having carryover actors and actresses that maybe they're like making a little more money, but I mean, it's shit. I can't see it being anything. Because if you look at these things, you could tell that it's shot for low budget. Even though, again, holy shit, the like practical effects, the blood and gore budget and the people working on it, impressive. Like whether you're into it or not, whether it makes you grossed out or not. There was one part, and this is when I messaged you to say, oh, now I get the vomiting. So if people said it early on, grow up. You were seeing a Terrifier movie. They already hacked people to pieces in previous movies. They don't care. So calm down with that. But towards the end of the movie, there's a scene where they take a tube and shove it into a person's mouth, like hammer it into someone's mouth, essentially, and then put a rat into the tube, take a blowtorch to send the rat going down the tube into the person's throat. You see it in the person's throat, and then they take and slash the throat to have the rats come pouring out of their throat. So, like, if you want to throw up after that, I'm fine. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Because it is as gnarly as it sounds. So, because they did it where they shot it and staged it, like, where it looked very believable. So again, this movie is not to be fucked with if you can't handle it. And honestly, at parts, I was just like, oh, I know it's almost over. Thank God. Like, so there was a little bit of that. But what's funny is in between, I'm like laughing because there's a lot of like stuff where like they almost like do giddy, like childish hand claps. Like there's a scene, it's probably online somewhere, where he meets Santa Claus, like a guy dressed up as Santa Claus in a bar. And he geeks out like he's seeing the real Santa Claus, and he sits on his lap and does the whole thing. And it's like this whole like adorable but like childishly dumb and weird but funny. And then it turns into a murder spree. So it's like they do shit like that where it's like, hey, we're going to do this really funny thing in the middle of everything. And then we're going to do the nastiest, craziest shit you've ever seen in the next scene. So, you know, it's one of those.
Right. I did hear where the director kind of like modeled Art the Clown's personality after like a Freddy Krueger kind of person where he's like sarcastic, he's dark humor, he's gonna make these jokes, but then you want to be his friend, but then he goes on a killing spree and you're like, well, okay, that ended that friendship real quick.
Yeah, except Freddy's got a mouth and is always making jokes.
Right.
The difference is here because he acts literally like a mime. So it's literally like silent movie villain shit. And he's not hiding behind a mask. He just has makeup on. So he's very expressive. You've seen the look of him, and it's a great look. Like, that's part of the reason why these movies have persisted, because it's so, like, nasty looking. You see, like, that image of his face on every poster because that is everything. You know what I mean? It's not Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees where it's hide behind the mask and try to be almost like, flat, ambivalent, like just scary because it's cold, dead eyes and nothing else. It's like, no. This guy loves that he's fucking hacking you with the chainsaw, you know? So it's a little bit different, which is what I guess the appeal is for all of it. But yeah, man, it's something that I'll probably keep watching these, mostly because I just want to see what they do next. I think that's part of the appeal for this too. And I wonder if this has legs, because if I'm saying stuff like this and somebody goes, ooh, you know what I mean? Like the sickos out there who maybe listen to this podcast, they're going to run out and be like, oh man, I was waiting to see what they thought of this, Yeah,
like I said, I'm inching closer and closer to giving this a trial run just because everyone's talking about it now. I mean, they have been talking about it, but especially with this one, they're like, oh my God, yeah. So I'm like, all right, maybe I'll just kind of inch my way over a little bit and kind of dip my toe in there. I'll sit on the side of the pool and kind of put my foot in there to see if I want to kind of jump in, You
can watch, I think safely say, I don't think you'd get too lost if you watch part 3 and haven't watched any of the others.
Okay.
Because they do a decent enough job of like, this is what he does. This is how he comes back after being hacked up or like by some final girl and whatever. So they kind of explain it along the way, which I think is again why you're getting these longer runtimes, because I think they're like, okay, these movies are small, but they're kind of objects of like cult fascination. So they keep adding fans along the way. So they kind of want to be like, okay, this is going to be a big one. So let's make sure we kind of recap a little bit, so that way everybody isn't lost if this is your first Terrifier movie.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. All right.
Yeah. So if you want to avoid like, having to go through the whole thing, you'll get the experience if you watch 3.
Okay. So. I figured as much because, I'm been in this genre forever. There's franchises I just jumped into like, the third or fourth part because, I get the premise already and like, I could always go back and like recap the first one or like, okay, I like part 3. Let me go back and see how it all started.
Right. It's like they had a marathon of Friday the 13th movies on IFC, I think it was, or AMC, one of the two, over last weekend. Yeah, and I know someone who didn't see any of them and just jumped in. It was like part 7, and I'm like, well, this is going to be a bad one, so enjoy it. But like at the same time, because that's when they start getting to like telekinesis shit, and it's like, what are we even doing? But but if you've never seen it, like you can at least get a taste of like, this is what Jason does. This is how he goes about his business. He's going to get set on fire or something else. And you're going to be like, oh, that's the end of him. And then it won't be. So like, you could dip your toe at any point with those things and then go back and forth as you wish, I definitely wouldn't recommend to anyone to start at 7 and watch a few of them because it's like, yikes. But at the same time, if you want to watch a little bit of something and go, oh, I kind of like this, and then go back to the beginning, knock yourself out.
Right.
But yeah, I guess like Terrifier, it's, a 3.5, maybe a little less or whatever.
Okay.
Like, because again, like it's so good at what it does, but it's also not going to be something where I'm like, oh man, fucking best shoot of the year,
Right.
So, because I like I don't know, I'm a snob a little bit with horror, where it's like I appreciate certain things, especially with the gore and stuff, but it's not, like you said, it's not exactly my cup of tea. Like it's impressive to an extent, but it isn't something where I'm like, oh man, what a fucking masterpiece,
Right.
So I'm never probably going to get there, and neither I don't know if these movies ever will, but yeah, it's gonna be in our lives, man. So you might want to check it out if you're the horror guy. Speaking of which, you caught a couple of what we like to call the streaming screams from last week. I caught one of them, but let's get to the ones you caught first, because these were both Huluweens.
Yes, Huluweens, absolutely.
So, dealer's choice. You watch Mr. Crocker, which I was like just looking at the icon on Hulu, and it's just like, oh man. I was like, this seems so hokey that I didn't know what to do with it, and I couldn't press play. And then Sting is one of the multiple spider horror films from this year where I watched Vermins, whatever it was.
Yep.
That's French, I think. And then Sting was on my list too. But so I don't know if I chose poorly, but this one I believe had a lesser rating at the time. So tell me, what'd you think of either of those? Go in any direction you like.
All right, I'm going to start with Mr. Crocket. All right, I saw the little trailer for this. I was sitting there watching something. I was like, oh, man. I saw the little promo with him with the bow tie. I'm like, all right, and I saw the trailer like you. I was like, this is hokey, but this is my kind of hokey. This is like the Banana Splits horror movie they did a couple years ago on like USA or something. Like, in fact, I think that was Hulu as well. I'm like, all right, I'm in this kind of stuff, man. So let me go ahead and dip my toes in this one. Perfect hour-and-a-half running time. I think it actually might be an hour and 25 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I'll just read the quick synopsis. A mother embarks on a perilous quest to rescue her son from a demonic children's show host who is kidnapping kids. Now, this movie's set in the 90s because it involves a VHS tape. Now, for people who don't understand, VHS tapes are what we used to watch movies on, and we used to put it in a machine.
Yeah.
And basically, this host from the 70s, like Mr. Rogers, these kids get kind of like entranced and hypnotized, and he comes out and he kind of kidnaps them or saves them, in his eyes, saving them from like abusive parents or situations that kids don't want to be in. Yeah. So you think he's doing some good. And this one mom, obviously, her husband just passed away, so she's having like parenting issues with her son, and her son gets caught up in this and gets kidnapped, and then all of a sudden here comes I'm going to track down Mr. Crocket and just try to save my son. So It is hokey, but surprisingly, it's entertaining. I think the guy who plays Mr. Crocket, I've never seen him before. Elvis Nolesko, I think I messed that up, but he plays like the Mr. Rogers, Mr. Crocket, does a great job. You do get like his past in this and why he ended up the way he is and why he wants to take the kids. But I did like the little journey in the parents getting together and trying to like get their kids. It had it had passable practical effects. This movie's more practical effects than it is special effects, which I appreciated. Right. Especially like with his little Muppets and puppeteers helping him out. You get some like pretty decent kills at the beginning. And then like towards the end, it kind of goes off the wall. But it's a nice mixture of cornball, over the top, kind of like 80s, early 90s scary movies. I imagine this. I was thinking of the movie Imaginary for some reason when I was watching this, and like this is what Imaginary should have been more like than what we got in the theaters.
I was afraid of Five Nights at Freddy's.
It's better than It's better than Five Nights at Freddy's.
Okay,
slightly, because it is more entertaining, I thought, and definitely like not as well produced as Five Nights at Freddy's, obviously for a Halloween kind of movie,
right?
But it is in that ilk of movie, but it's a better version of Five Nights at Freddy's because you actually do get some nice kills in here. You get a nice villain or more iconic villain. It does kind of open itself up for a sequel, obviously, at the end of this one. But I got a good kick out of it. It was a decent movie to watch, especially for like a Hulu produced or made movie for Halloween. Yeah. I gave it like a strong 2.5, man. Like it's cheesy, it's dark humor, but the better one I watched was Sting. Oh, let me backtrack real quick. So Mr. Crocket right now, Rotten Tomatoes, surprisingly 65% critic score with a 57% audience score.
Yeah, and it has a 5.4 on IMDb too.
It does,
so
yeah.
It's kind of in that middling range. I mean, it's not far off from what you were saying.
Yeah. So Sting is the better movie I watched. This right now is a 71% critic score with a 63% audience score.
Okay.
And basically, this is a creature feature set in New York City during the winter. You in this one isolated apartment complex where it's maybe one of the worst special effects scenes I've ever seen. You get this spider comet coming from space and lands in this little terrarium in this apartment, and it's the spider. And this girl Charlotte finds it and keeps it as a pet and names it Sting.
Of course.
And the spider's just growing at an exponential rate in like 24 hours to the point where it's starting to wreak havoc on the apartment complex. But what I liked about this film is like the family dynamic part of this, surprisingly, because you get the mom, the newborn Charlotte, and her stepdad, because her real dad is just left the family. So you kind of get like the dad trying to make ends with the girl, and they're writing this comic together that's getting published. Like he's an artist, but he takes care of the building and keeping track of everything. But I actually got a good kick out of it. It has some really good spider kills, and if you're like freaking like I don't like spiders, and you like it's right up there, man. Like you get some nice little kills. I like the performance by Charlotte, the young girl. I like the dynamic between her and her dad. It has some funny parts in it, and it's again an hour and a half. It's quick moving. It's better written than I thought it would be for a Halloween movie.
Yeah,
definitely entertaining, especially as the spider's making its way through the apartment complex and wreaking havoc with some of the people in there and pets and whatever the spider finds. So I got a good kick. I really did get a good kick out of it, man. It is a nice classic creature feature. Again, a lot of practical effects in here outside the bad special effects at the beginning of the movie. I like the look of the spider, and I like the acting across the board. And I did like the storyline between the family and like them trying to come together and all that stuff in this apartment complex. So I gave this a straight 3. For a Halloween movie. Very entertaining. I would watch it again. I would probably show it to my daughter. I'm like, hey, look at this. If you can't watch spiders crawling into people's mouths and just bursting out, then hey, might not be for you. But like,
yeah, if you know it's a spider horror movie, you got to imagine that's going to be part of the package.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was an enjoyable movie. So I gave it a 3. So 2.5 for Mr. Crocket and a 3 for Sting on Hulu as part of the Halloween package.
And there's no one really of note in Sting, right?
No.
Like there's Jermaine Fowler, who's the comedian turned actor who was in like Sorry to Bother You and some other things. Yeah.
And he's in a couple scenes, and he was kind of funny when he shows up as the exterminator. But other than that one guy, you're right. In both these movies, there's people you don't recognize anybody.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, listen, for like we've kind of put that threshold, right, of like if it's the straight to streaming horror thrillers that we've been getting, a 3 is like a well worth like Friday night click, right? You know, anything less is like borderline, whatever. But like if you can get a 3 or higher from one of those, that's great. You know, it's a good night for you.
In fact, I think our friend Amenta, I looked at my letterbox. He also gave it a 3.
Yeah. And I think he said he liked it the same or better than Furman's when he was on the show last, and I had said I just watched that one too.
Right. Okay.
Because he came on for what, In a Violent Nature, so that was back whatever months ago.
Yep.
So I watched it back then. So yeah, I just couldn't do I couldn't do multiple spider horror films in the same time period. But yeah, it's weird how they were all kind of out around the same time. So that's funny. But it's good that it made it to Hulu now because it's a perfect time of year to acquire something like that and have it available. Yep. The other one here that as far as like the streaming stuff, and again, not screamy, a little bit of thriller, a little bit of sci-fi, is Caddo Lake, but of course it kind of gets lumped in, right? And of course it's being put out around this time of year because it is executive produced by M. Night Shyamalan, so that's gonna put you in that category of like, ooh, it's kind of like a puzzle box, it's a little bit of, you know, thrilling elements, like what's going on here type movie. And it's a movie that I hadn't even heard of until you're like, oh, I checked this out, it's on Max right now, you know, again, straight to streaming, and with was it Dylan O'Brien we're now gonna talk about multiple movies coming up with him also playing Dan Aykroyd in Saturday Night, so him having a good weekend, of course, you know, making the family proud, being into good movies, because I will say that Caddo Lake, I enjoyed myself. The only thing is, and you warned me this before I watched it, was this is a movie that you absolutely have to pay attention. And even if you're fully paying attention, you can miss like the slightest thing and maybe be a little confused because it is kind of like a time slip movie. The only thing I would say, and I'm curious your opinion. Well, let me put it out there because I don't know if a lot of people know about this movie, so let me at least put the info out there. This is, like we mentioned, Dylan O'Brien, Eliza Scanlon, and Lauren Ambrose is in here as well. So a lot of good people, a lot of people I like. This is co-directed by Logan George and Celine Held, also written by them as well. This is essentially small town on the lake. An 8-year-old girl disappears. A series of past deaths and disappearances start to link together, altering like this kind of broken family's history. And that's kind of where they want to go with this. That's kind of the appeal for the story, is to kind of put some pieces back to where this family has been affected by some of these disappearances. I wouldn't think too hard about the mechanism here or why, because so I'm going to bounce some things off you. I'm curious to know if you feel the same way. So the mechanism is the water is low at this lake, and it exposes essentially this area of the kind of the forestry that you can access when I guess things are low and it turns more into land or whatever. And I don't know why they kind of talk about like between nature and maybe Native American or any of these other things, they kind of just like drip in there. But I don't see any kind of like reason for it. It's just kind of this mechanism that's there. And I also don't see any rhyme or reason why it takes you to certain specific instances in the past instead of being like, it takes you back a week every time. It takes you back a year in time. It takes you whatever. There's no rhyme or reason besides it's convenient to the plot, sort of, to show you where it goes. It didn't like totally distract me from like not enjoying the ride of the movie. But if it's a movie that if you think about it too hard, you might start to like kind of soften on it. Yeah. Is that close to that?
Yeah, it's close. It didn't bother me. Like, I felt like you did. It didn't take me out of the movie because I thought the same thing. I'm like, it's just a MacGuffin to make the movie connect, Like, there's no rhyme or reason why he ends up in 1952 or 2005 or a week later or a day later. You can't really control that. And it didn't change my opinion of the movie. And the fact they didn't really link, like, why did the seizures happen when the lake what was the connection between them other than, I don't.
So here's my read, if you want my opinion. And sorry to cut you off because I'm starting to maybe piece things in real time.
Yeah.
So I think it takes you maybe back to other periods when the droughts were around. And I think those are maybe the only times that it's available to you, which is a little silly and contrived, but fine. And then what was the other thing you just said? Because it jogged my memory.
The seizures or migraines.
The seizures, I think, is just because you've gone through that and maybe you're in the wrong timeline.
You know, it's funny you said, because as I'm speaking out loud, I'm like, maybe because Anna isn't supposed to be in the place she's supposed to be, and maybe she's in a different timeline. Maybe that's why she's...
Right. And then if you think about Paris, he shouldn't be in the same timeline, because his timeline, he should be going either he's presumed dead, or like there's all these things like where it's you don't fully know what happened to him, but he's a father to someone in there. I don't want to like spoil everything. It's weird because I know we're trying to figure this out sort of in real time, but like, I think he ends up obviously slipping between ones. And then when he comes back, he ends up having the seizure. So,
and I know we just lost all our audience because, like, what the hell are you guys talking about?
But that's kind of. I want to put this out to everyone. Like, that's part of the enjoyment of this is it'll stick with you in like the. Let me just make sure I have this right a little bit. But in between, good performances. I was locked in, especially to Dylan O'Brien and Eliza Scanlon. Like, do excellent jobs. It's a family drama in between, so it'll keep you engaged. So I don't have a problem with that. I just think it's one of those movies that you will think a lot about afterwards to make sure you have at least the order of events or like what it's selling you correct. And then if you sit for it a little longer, maybe some of it falls apart. So it'll land in some a little better than average kind of score for me.
Yeah, and here's what I'll say. Like, again, it didn't take away from the movie. So, like, you do have to pay attention. Because it's funny because I'm watching this, and you're watching, like, for the audience here. Dylan plays Paris. We mentioned him. And Eliza plays Ellie, right? So those are the two main characters. You get both their stories kind of simultaneously happening. They keep jumping back and forth between their stories. And I'm watching this in real time. I'm like, okay, when are they going to cross paths? Because you're just expecting this the entire movie. You're like, they're going to run into each other. Like, he's investigating this. She's trying to find this girl. And, like, it's going to happen. And then it's funny because when it does happen and Ellie sees something, like, with the boat, and I'm like, oh, my first was like, oh, shit. It's one of these movies. Now I got to pay attention. Like, I'm like, oh, God. I got to pay attention to the time jumping element. But that's kind of what made it fun. Like, talking about this movie doesn't derail from the movie. It actually enhances the movie a little bit more. And what saves this movie is I like the twist and I like the final twist. Once you figure out who's who and this person's that person, I think it just tightens everything up and makes the movie better. Like, I actually enjoyed this movie a lot. I love Dylan O'Brien's performance as Paris. He's very just understated in this movie. I like his demeanor. I just like how they tied everything together. I thought it was a smart, and this is a sci-fi movie. That's, as we said.
I can see why Shyamalan likes it because it feels a little like in that wheelhouse of a
old kind of like,
or even old. I've thought it had a better pacing and everything. I felt it felt more classic Shyamalan.
Yeah,
but obviously he didn't do it, but I could see him putting the wheels together.
Yeah, so. I enjoyed this film, man, and like right now it's 80% critic with an 81% audience. I gave it a 3.5. I thought it was a solid movie.
Yeah, I think it's a soft 3.5. Right, like it's one of those
strong,
like,
but it's a 3.5. Right,
but again, like you said, the scores bear out. It has a 6.9 on IMDb, so it's essentially like a 3.5.
Yep,
type thing. So yeah, I like I said, there are some things that just. And again, I don't want to spoil this movie, but there are parts in the end that I just go, does that feel right? Does that make me feel good that this ended this way? Like once we get the pieces all in a row,
right?
Like does that help people? Like does that help anybody?
Probably not.
Probably not. So that's why I was just like, is there closure for them as much as there is for me? So that's where I kind of softened on this movie a little bit.
I think there's closure for Ellie and not anyone else. Let's put it that way.
Actually, what's funny is like, yeah, you could
Or
say Ellie. I think it's actually
and Celeste,
maybe a little bit for the mother. Yeah.
Yeah, Celeste and Ellie, but not the stepdad.
Oh, I know. Yeah, Daniel's fucked. That poor guy. Who again? I love that guy too.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, Eric Lang, who I liked a lot in this, and he's a consummate character actor. You've seen him in a million things, including because I have 2 young kids. He is the weird theater teacher in the Nickelodeon verse of Sam and Cat and Victorious. So if you have young kids and had to go through that, he is a constant staple in your face. But yeah, man, that guy's been on everything. Like you just saw him in Sugar. He's been in Perry Mason. He was in Unbelievable for Netflix, Escape at Dannemora, like, and that's just more of the recent stuff. So, and he goes way back. So, yeah, man, Narcos, Lost, etc. Like that guy has been around forever, and he's always good. So I appreciate him too. So, like I said, good cast, quality film. Like I said, I'm right there with you. So I'm glad we kind of lockstepped on that one. Last thing, I know we're getting a little long here, but I just want to like kind of pair these movies together. We both saw Saturday Night, and obviously that's the SNL film done by Jason Reitman and Gil Kenan, and it's one of those. So I liked to pair this one and The Apprentice together. The Apprentice one being the Donald Trump in the 80s, kind of like when he went from, you know, being under his dad's thumb, working in real estate on a minor level, like working in apartments and collecting rent, and, you know, getting sued because, you know, he was getting sued by the NAACP for racist practices in renting, you know, and ends up aligning himself with Ray Cohn, the, you know, high power lawyer in New York City, and ends up getting him out of it, and then goes on this whole like lifelong thing, and it goes from there all the way until when he is writing Art of the Deal. So it's that kind of time period where he's married to Ivana the whole time, like he hasn't even gotten divorced yet or any of that stuff. So Saturday Night is a film that, you know, it's literally setting place on the prep up until the start of their first episode on the air. And it's the original cast. It's the 1975 cast. So you get everybody who was the icons of the time. You know, your Belushis, your Chevy Chase, your Dan Aykroyd, your Gilda Radners, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, including extra things like Andy Kaufman and Jim Henson, who are played by the same character, which is fun because I thought it was distinctive enough, but I also like that guy, especially, you know, if you're big Succession fans, it's going to be a big deal to have him playing multiple things, and I thought he crushed both of them. And I haven't even said who I think is probably the best performance in there, so we'll get to that. And obviously Lorne Michaels being the big piece of this, played by Gabriel LaBelle, who has been crushing it between Fabelmans, Snack Shack, which I believe we both caught. You ended up catching that or no?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And now this. So he's had a great run the last couple of years. And I feel like these two movies are paired together because as I'm watching them, it washes over me and I'm having a good time. And I can see maybe little things where I'm like, that's probably bullshit. But for the most part, it's this constant engagement, constant great really good performances that keep you going and everything's moving and you appreciate if what's being fed to you is the truth as a great narrative storytelling for the most part on both sides. But there is that itch where I'm just like, I don't know if this is all the way true. I don't know if this is all the way faithful. And especially when things get political or if things get nostalgic, those are where things can get murky. And I just feel like I'm going to have this thing where I'm like, oh, I really like this. And someone's going to tap me on the shoulder and be like, you know, this part was bullshit, right? And it kind of makes it a big deal. So, and I've heard some of those things from the Saturday Night part, less on the Apprentice side. But I did like both movies. So I want to know, because you obviously watched Saturday Night yourself, What were your feelings on it as you're watching it, and then obviously as it completes? Like, did you enjoy yourself? What did you like about it, and where are we going from here?
Man, yeah, I don't know exactly how I feel about Saturday night, to be honest with you. I was looking forward to it. It was like right there at number 10 or 9. Like I saw the trailer, I was like, I'm all in on this. And I liked the movie when I got done with it, but I was wanting to like it more, I guess. And I got back and my girlfriend's like, "Did you like it?" I'm like, "Yeah, it was good." Like, but like I wasn't like blown away or I I like the performances, and I'll get to my top two, and I'll get to like my star.
Sure.
Um, but I like it gives you an inside look at the creative process and what they had to do to get the show on air. So I did like all the chaos. It was kind of getting, I don't know, it was a little too much for me. Like towards the end, I'm like, all right, how many fires do they got to freaking put out there? It's like an hour and a half, 2 hours of putting out fires. Like I get it, I get it, I get it. But I enjoyed seeing the process of them getting the show to air. I was expecting I was expecting to be a little funnier, I guess, and I was expecting a little more insight to some of the characters. Like you get like superficial stuff with you kind of see how Chevy Chase kind of turned into Chevy Chase or like what he already was and like how his ego even got like a little bigger as the movie went on. So it gave you little snippets like he really didn't like Belushi, I got the sense of it. But like what was the contract dispute about? Like what I want a little more detail on what were the little things holding stuff up.
Yeah, who waits until the day of, shooting to sign your contract?
Right.
Who lets that slide? That can't be true.
Exactly. So, like, at the end, because they're going to get the show on here. So, like, there's no surprise. Like, oh, they didn't make it. But, yeah, you get it. But I did enjoy the performances. But I was expecting just a little more oomph, a little more comedic stuff going out through the movie. But, and this is going a little off the rails, but, like, we grew up in a different era of Saturday Night Live. I guess I'm watching this and I forgot all about Andy Kaufman, who was the actor was great in this. I actually liked him better as Jim Henson than I did Kaufman. But
yeah, well, because there's not a whole lot to the Kaufman one.
I guess like my humor and you being a comedian as well, like I don't get Andy Kaufman. I don't think he's funny. I never thought he was funny. I don't get the whole Mickey Mouse shit. I don't get the Wolverine skit. I thought that was stupid. I just don't get like the humor in these skits of the early Saturday Night Live stuff. I don't. I'm sorry. Yeah. I thought the star performer, I really like Corey Michael Smith as Chevy Chase. I thought he had the mannerisms. He had the inflection of the voice. It looked like a young Chevy Chase. Right. And then, of course, Gabriel LaBelle. Those were my top two performers. And Dylan O'Brien as Dan Aykroyd had him down cold, I thought, too. So, like, them three I really enjoyed. And like you, briefly, I didn't do a deep dive into, like, what was fact and what was fiction. Aykroyd came out today and said most of it was right on. Like, I'm like, okay. But, like, the light set falling was made up. That was fake.
Right.
Belushi signing his contract 5 minutes before airtime did happen. Like that really did take place.
Right.
I didn't like the J.K. Simmons, Milton Berle stuff. That kind of turned me off, and I get why they threw him in there. But like, I don't know, that kind of seemed out of place. But I did enjoy that interaction with him and Chevy Chase. I thought that was one of my favorite scenes, and I thought Chevy Chase came off funnier in that exchange until Milton whipped his dick out.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, okay. And that didn't happen, by the way.
Yeah, again, there's like a bunch of them where I'm like, there's no way we would know this by now, or there would be some larger thing you would think. Well, even the Andy Kaufman thing, it's like that seemed so contrived in retrospect, but obviously it feels like, because they have like almost these moments where it feels like a sports movie where it's like, oh, we're rallying around the team and we're going to get this over the finish line, you know, kind of drama, which seems almost like TV-ish. Yes. Or like almost, I heard some comparisons to obviously being Sorkin-ish and more to the point of Sunset Strip. So yeah, I get that.
I can see it, and I say all that to say I still enjoyed the movie and the process of the movie. I like seeing these young upstart comedians really wanting the show to work and get on air, and I wanted, again, there's more stuff I wanted, like the beef with Carson, like all that kind of stuff. Like, but overall, I enjoyed it. I just felt like, did this really need to be in theaters? I don't know. Like,
which is tough because again, this is a festival movie
I know.
that has aspirations of potential Oscar pushes and awards push stuff. And I just sat there and I was like, I
didn't
enjoy
see
this
it.
because if
Yeah.
you let it wash over you and enjoy the ride and enjoy a lot of like, they nailed like the casting on a lot of people.
They did. They did.
And even for some people who I don't fully know, I'll say it right now. Tommy Dewey as Michael O'Donoghue was my favorite. And he
was good.
He was hilarious. And I think he gets a lot of the laughs because I think he's supposed to be head writer and he's, kind of bent and he kind of fits the type of humor that they would come to expect as the show will progress. And I'm with you too. I'm like, I don't idolize the 75 cast. Like everybody with SNL, you like more love the ones you grew up with or around the time you kind of came into age, your early teenage years or into like college period. Like that is really your SNL usually for people. And
Yep.
I'm the same way. I'm 100% Farley, Sandler, Phil Hartman, all those dudes, Mike Myers, Dana Carvey, etc. And so, Kevin Nealon, Norm Macdonald, those guys are my guys. So if they made a movie around that time period, obviously I'd be, which is probably going to come at some point. Like they'll probably, I think they're even working on a Chris Farley movie. You get it. But like,
Yep.
This is that version for people who grew up where this was, this counterculture thing, that they try to pitch you. Also, just like, how are you getting a show to air if you haven't explained to the executives what this show is?
Right.
That seems asinine. So there's a bunch of stuff that like it's another one of those movies. We kind of said it a little bit with Caddo Lake was like, if you start to think about it a little bit more after the effect of this, frantic movie that you're just trying to keep the pace and you're on the ride, you're on the tracks because you're trying to get to air and you're in the lockstep with these guys and they do a good job with that. But then if you think about it an extra few beats, you go, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Or this didn't work for me, or this is what do I feel like? I knew this was going where it was, so what did it teach me? And I didn't have like a lot of takeaways, And they tried to really like, especially with Lamar Morris, his character playing Garrett Morris.
Yeah.
Having that moment with him and Jane Curtin where they're kind of talking about like what their role is on the show and things like that. Like how you at that point you're here, you're casted, you're there. Like, so why'd you take the job if you're here? Like, I understand maybe a little bit of buyer's remorse, and especially for how chaotic it was, maybe, but I don't know. That again, like you can tell, you can really see through this movie a bit to see where they put the drama bits, like the places that they needed to amp the stakes or get you on board with, and sometimes that took me out, and sometimes it took me take the score down for me later. But I can't complain about really any performance. And the only thing that really bothers me is that I heard Willem Dafoe's character, Dave Tebbutt, from what I understand, big supporter of the show, was not the villain that they make him out to be like, we'll just replace you with Carson and kind of like stand your way and, not really see him on board. Apparently in all the oral histories and stuff, that is completely inaccurate. So they just needed to make someone.
They need a villain.
Yeah, they needed a straw man, essentially like just some version of a person trying to hold them up, or try to make them not have this happen. And I feel bad for his family, the real life guy's family. It's like, oh, look, grandpa or dad's finally getting immortalized. Oh, they're making him a dick. So that's got to be tough sledding. So, I don't think this is an Oscar play.
No,
because there's so many characters, I'd be shocked if anyone outside of Gabriel Labelle got any acting nom stuff because it's too hard to parse out.
Pinpoint, it is.
Yeah.
I will say it did take me a while, and I finally figured out who played George Carlin because I kept looking at his face, and as they did close, I'm like, God, I
it's
know
Matthew
that guy.
Reese.
I didn't know it. I almost looked it up. I'm like, because I didn't know it until you guys look up in the toga when they did the when he was on stage. I was like, okay, that's Matthew. And I was like, that's an odd casting to play George Carlin. You figured they'd
It is, but I think he did good.
He did a great job, I thought.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, he's Kerry Russell's husband, people.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
From the
good,
Americans. Yeah. He's fine. But no, like you, I think we're lockstep as well with this movie. I gave it a 3.5, man. I think we both had the same experience watching this, and both criticism and positive stuff. Yeah. I think we're like in lockstep in this movie. I give it a 3.5.
Yeah, I'm kind of, again, another soft.
It's a weaker 3.5. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I don't think this is an Oscar play. No. I don't think it's going to end up that way, and because I think it's too, which shock, right? Because it's it's Jason Reitman, so it has to be kind of quasi sentimental for like no reasons or nostalgic. Like he's coming off the Ghostbusters films, which he turned a franchise that isn't that way at all into essentially a family-friendly nostalgia play, and you're just like, all right, can we stop fucking up my franchise, please, that I grew up with? But the opposite end here is The Apprentice, and I know you haven't seen this yet, but like, I thought, Sebastian Stan, like, again, there's not a person where I was like, damn, this was a miscast, this was a misfire or whatever. This story is told really well. I enjoyed how they put it together and the slice of Trump's life that they put together to where, again, it's political stuff is so hotly debated, right? And there's no good answer. Nobody's going to be like, oh, you're just a Trump hater or this, but it's like, okay, again, if this movie is faithful to the truth, and obviously certain things are going to be debated or whatever. And I've even seen things where even though Ray Cohn definitely comes off as a piece of shit who, set Trump on a certain trajectory that he just couldn't control even himself, that I've heard like, oh, they humanized Ray Cohn, so fuck this movie. I've heard that too. But I thought this movie was so well done, and I was on board the whole way, and you can kind of see what they were going with kind of this, the only thing is I don't believe Trump to be, they made him almost a Boy Scout before he got to Ray Cohn. And I think that's maybe a little like, he's kind of, they pitch him as kind of like he didn't drink. He was under his dad's thumb. He didn't fully have a personality of his own. He's kind of just this guy who brags maybe a lot about being rich and being rich young and all these things, which obviously lines up. But once he gets on with Cohn, it goes on like, man, that's where you start to really see all the seeds of where we are now with Trump and where things were even further back. And they obviously talk about, because it's during the Reagan era. And for people who don't know, Make America Great Again was a Reagan slogan, and he basically took it and ran with it. And that's kind of the Trump experience here in this movie, is that he takes things from people and then is unapologetically like, nobody did anything for me, even though he just steals every bit of things from everybody else and takes a leg up from everybody and is so grateful. And then once he makes his bones, he's just like, fuck everybody else and get out of my way. And, so, but here's the thing is that Ray Cohn in the movie, at least, designs him that way, like creates that for him. He's like, kind of tells him the stuff he says in Art of the Deal, the book that came out in the 80s about Trump. Those were Ray Cohn's business practices, that he was just like, never apologize, always, claim victory, all these things like that you now see in his political career, but have been around since the 80s. And those were also things from Ray Cohn. But the one thing that I really want people to take away from this is, regardless of whatever you think about this movie, Jeremy Strong as Ray Cohn deserves to be in the Oscar conversation. He's electric. He's a presence like I haven't seen in a while, and he is really good. And I think he should get his flowers for this one. And I think, again, this is another 3.5 movie, but I think maybe a little stronger depending on how it holds up later. If I hear some other things of like, well, this is bullshit and this is bullshit. But based on what I saw, how I felt when I left the movie theater and the performances within, I think this is a 3.5 with Jeremy Strong being the person to come out as the big winner.
Wow. Okay.
But like I said, somebody can fuck this up for me where I can listen to someone's analysis of it and be like, this isn't right. This isn't this. We have, proof of this and whatever else. So it could just be a hit piece, But I thought it seemed relatively fair. The only thing is there is a scene in here where Trump commits sexual violence. And so if that's not documented somewhere, whether it's Ivana Trump, because he does it to Ivana while they're married. So it's like if it's not in her book or somewhere where it's like documented in some way, I'd be like, ooh, where do we get that one? So,
okay.
But a lot of these other ones, I think they can get it from other sources. So we'll see. I'm going to maybe do a little digging, see if anyone has any more perspective of maybe being more lucid in the 80s than me being a child. So if somebody who has it more first in their brain of what Trump was like more than I do. But yeah, based on what I saw though, I enjoyed it.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those movies down here that's playing like at just times I just can't get to. Like it's playing 2 showings and I'm like, I'm not going to do a 10-10 showing on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Can't do it. But I will. It is on my list. Like I do want to see it. So, I mean, I guess it was a good weekend for some of the cast of Succession then, man. Like,
yeah, sure.
Yeah, which I still can't get into that show, but we'll talk about that another day.
Yes, please. And then, of course, we obviously we've gone long, but Slow Horses ended, Bad Monkey ended. So I want to know kind of we'll have to do a catch up on some TV stuff as we go along. But like I said, this week's already going to be a fucking madhouse for me. Although I've already caught up with English Teacher and Only Murders, and I'm still in on those. Although Only Murders I've been riding. That show is so fucking good. But now I'm a little confused as to where we go from here after this week's episode. So I need more. But I think they have 2 more left on that show. So, but good job by you, man. Like, are you looking forward to one thing in particular this week?
Smile 2.
Smile
2. Yeah, that's the one. And of course, in my top 10, we Live in Time. Those.
Is that wide this week?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, again, these things get lost because there's so many things coming out.
I think that was my number 6 or 7 on my top 10 anticipated list for the rest of the year. So
I think I've gotten through most of my list. I'd have to go back. And in fact, let me see. Do I have it? Yeah. So my list, my number 1 was Saturday Night. We did that this week. Wolves disappointed me. Gladiator 2, Conclave, Blitz have not been released wide. Wild Robot I really liked. A Real Pain I'll be seeing this weekend. My Old Ass I enjoyed. The Substance I enjoyed. And Joker Follow You Do did not work. So so we got a bunch of mixed results here. So I'm hoping that this weekend kicks off a little bit more of, okay, here we go. More and more of these Oscar or big time stuff that's going to come through in the next month or so. I'll have a good shake on what this year looks like, because I'm still a little ambivalent as to what 2024 movie year is to me at this point, and whether I care about the Oscar chase as it goes through. I need like a champion to go through because everyone seems to keep dismissing Dune Chapter 2, that's not going to win anything. It's like, or it'll only win technical stuff. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why? Why is that one that gets what? In favor of what? Show me what? So, and then Challengers is getting kind of a similar thing. I'm like, are you kidding me? Those are the 2 best movies of the year. Anyway, so somebody needs to tell me what is going to replace them and why. And so here we go. But great job by you as always. Everybody out there, thank you for listening. Be sure to come back because we got so many more movies. So subscribe now. Follow us on the socials at Recent Act Pod and come back next week for more recent activity.